Okay. Hey guys. I'm on my way to one of my children's schools. I have a parent teacher meeting, the end of the year meeting. You have that with all your children, and I got one for this particular child because this week, next week is the last week of school. So they got about 2 more weeks left. Really 1 week, because that last week, they don't do anything but just go to school to play, right? So I got a few minutes to talk before I go. I had several things that crossed my mind that I should talk about today. I'm going to do the shortest, the most recent one that crossed my mind today, that I observed and noticed, even in myself and others. Like at the beginning of my holistic journey, the part of this journey where I didn't know I was on a holistic journey. It was the beginning stages when I was younger, when I'm just acquiring knowledge, reading, going places. These were the 90s, right? Because I'm Gen X, right? So, protesting, Black pride, anything to do with justice, Black power was like in then. It was popular then. It was catching the ground, like conscious rap, conscious music, things like that. You gotta remember, I grew up in that area, so it was a big deal. And when I was in college, I majored in African American Studies. One of the first students to register for it at the school at the time, because it was a new major. And there was a big deal here in the South, right? So I was really into things like that, Black student unions, events, things like, just into the culture, just gathering knowledge, right? But one part I want to talk about that is when you start, as I guess the young people say, woke now. I guess this generation say woke. But I would say when you start accumulating knowledge, when you start learning what's going on, like behind the scenes, the truth in things, just in this physical world, the spiritual world, mental world, when you just start learning stuff, you get this arrogance. And that's what I want to talk about. The part where you feel like when you're awakened, you're woke, or you have some knowledge that you're bigger and above those with opposing opinions, or think different, are in opposition. That's the part that I've noticed about people who consider themselves today as woke. And it was the situation then too, because the reason why I could recognize it so much, because that was me too. Baiting people for arguments, wanting to show how smart you are, how much you know. When you recognize someone is not smart, are they doing the opposite, what you feel like, oh, this is the right way to think, this is the right thing to do. You want to call people out on it, make people feel bad, and whatever. You become a bully, and then yourself supposed to be standing up against bully, but now you're the bully, right? But the thing is that I've learned over years, and what I would like people to realize, is when you begin to awaken, if that's your behavior, then you're not woke at all. You're not awakened. You're not a spiritual being. You're not vibrating high. You're not high level. You're very basic and low level. You haven't learned anything, because you're becoming what you so-called supposed to be against, right? Being awakened and accumulating, I'm just going to say a different word, accumulating knowledge for the embellishment of yourself and others is supposed to inspire compassion, understanding, and patience. That's what true wisdom inspires. True knowledge inspires. And when you are awakened, truly awakened, that's who you are. That's who you become. You don't seek to tear someone down. You don't use the knowledge that you have, the wisdom that you have, to tear others down, whether they agree with you or not, whether they're opposing or not. it doesn't matter. But see, it's another thing. The more awakened you become, then you realize what's opposing, like what's the argument about. It's just a bigger picture, people. It's a bigger picture. But back to my point, because I have to go now. Don't become a bully and then say you woke and use it as an excuse because you believe you're right. You're not right because your heart and your intention is not right. Even if what you're saying, so-called, is the opinion of the majority, it still doesn't make it right. Okay? And it doesn't give you excuse to act any kind of way towards people who don't think like you, who don't behave the way you behave. Yeah, people, that's not what being awakened is. That's not what wisdom is. And remember, compassion doesn't come without wisdom, and wisdom doesn't come without compassion. You can't have one without the other. And I mean like true wisdom, not this worldly wisdom. It is a difference. Those are other videos that we could discuss later. But I wanted to point that out. Know your heart. Pay attention to your heart. And even when you're listening to others that supposedly are awakened, who are just, when people speak, listen to their heart. Know their heart. Know their intention. Know how they respond to others who may not agree with everything they're saying. Just pay attention. Okay, guys. Until next time. Bye.